Yo, what's going on guys? Coach Joe, and I'm currently actually in the Zen Den, which is my outdoor patio out back. But I wanted to introduce a fellow coach that I had brought onto the Lions Den. He's my third coach, which I'm very timid when I bring coaches on and who I share my information with and who I help out. But his name's Matt Malloy. I just want to say a couple things about Matt. One, he's highly intelligent and passionate about strength training, and it's kind of funny because he has a background as a long distance runner and he made that leap, thank God, into strength training. But his passion, his drive, and his knowledge, I think, is going to be a very awesome complement to the coaching staff, as well as he's starting his YouTube channel. So he has a couple videos out now. He's making this video, which you're about to watch, on the accessory lifts for the deadlift. So without further ado, check it out, watch it all the way through, like the video, okay, subscribe to his channel, give him some feedback, and I know you guys are amazing, okay? So I know you're gonna like this guy because I wouldn't put somebody on my channel who I didn't believe in has potential. And like I said, he's smart. He's smarter than me, okay? Smarter than me, which isn't really hard to do, but he's a great dude.
All right, so I'm gonna be straight up. I already made this video and may or may not have noticed that the microphone turned off halfway through and may or may not have half the audio for it. So here we are, round two. Now the only difference here is I'm no longer talking on a tire, and there is actually a realistic possibility of me getting dive bombed by a bird. I really wish I was joking about that one. Anyways, first things first, I want to thank Joey for having me on his channel. If you don't know me, which I don't know why any of you would, I'm Coach Matt, new coach at the Lions Den. I'm 22 years old. I just finished up at the University of Pittsburgh, got my degree in exercise science, and I've been lifting for about the past 5 years now. My main focus has been powerlifting, but since I've gotten to the Lions Den, I've actually started training a lot into strongman. That's actually gonna be my first competition about the next 2 months here. A little bit about me, I've always been into athletics, so before this, I was actually a long distance runner. This is a little bit of a change up, but what basically ended up happening is I kept getting reoccurring stress fractures in my shins. So I was like, you know what, I'm done. Started doing lifting just because it was low impact, and it just took off for me. I loved it. So I've kind of gotten to see the best of both worlds in terms of training either endurance or strength, and can kind of empathize with both. But today we're talking all strength, and Joey wants me to give you my favorite assistance exercises for the deadlift. First thing to address here, guys, if you heard assistance exercises and then deadlift and then thought I was going to give you some new secret way to do a hamstring curl, I'm sorry. It's the wrong video, but also stay on because you're the exact people I need to talk to. So this is going to come off that I'm bashing traditional accessory movements, but I'm not. They have their place, especially in terms of hypertrophy, if that's your goals. But when we're talking strictly strength, we only have so much time we're going to be able to spend in the gym. We only have so much energy we're going to be able to use in the gym. The most appropriate way to use that time is to do whatever movement that you want to improve on that movement. So if you come up to me and are like, hey Matt, I want to program, I want to increase my squat, bench, and my deadlift. I'm going to give you exercises that are the squat, bench, and deadlift. I can guarantee you there's no secret exercise out there that's going to make the difference in your strength gains that isn't the exercise itself that you want to improve. That being said, all of my assistance movements today are going to be deadlifts, and let's just break it right now. You can deadlift more than one time a week and your CNS is not going to be fried. I promise you. You can even bring this up to as many as 3 times a week, depending on what kind of goals you're going for. So first movement, and one that doesn't require any equipment, but the one you've already got, is a pause deadlift. Pause deadlifts are awesome because they force us to get comfortable with one of the most uncomfortable portions of the lift, and that's right when we break the ground. Now, obviously people have differences on this. Some people are weak kind of breaking the ground, and some people are weak at the top. So you might think that breaking the ground isn't a big deal to you, but for a lot of people, that first inch or two is going to be a really difficult point, and being able to hold weight in that position is just going to build your confidence and allow you to know that you're able to get that lift after you've broken the floor. The other cool thing with pause deadlift is it really focuses in on keeping that upper back tightness and that lower back tightness. If you don't keep that tightness, it's gonna fold you in those first 2 inches and you're going right back to the ground. Another good thing about the pause deadlift, especially if you're nursing some sort of injury, maybe you're not at 100%, you can get some quality work in without having to go up to your maximal deadlift weight. So you can get some quality work in, a little bit less intensity, at least in terms of how much weight you have to stack on the bar. All right, next variation we got is another personal favorite of mine, and that is either the block or rack pull. Now, right away, if your gym has the equipment, I'd recommend the block pull. two reasons here. One, the blocks feel much better in terms of the bounce you're going to have off of them. So the rack pull, you're coming into contact with the metal pins and a metal bar, and it shakes every single time you hit, so you're going to have to reposition yourself basically every single time. With blocks, you have a bit softer of a bounce, so you're not going to be put out of position every single time you come to rest the bar down. Second reason is your gym owner is probably going to hate you less. So what I mean by that, with a rack pull, you're going to have a metal on metal contact every single time you're coming down in the reps, and with a rack pull you're going to be able to have a significant amount of weight on there, and regardless of the bar quality, it's going to warp slowly over time on every single hit from a rack pull. So if you do have blocks, make your gym owner proud, use the blocks, don't do a rack pull. So the reason we'd want to use a block pull or a rack pull is just because it's going to allow us to get some overload work in. So it's a shorter range of motion, and we're going to theoretically be able to lift a bit more weight than we usually are able to. Now, with some people, they aren't able to get the leg drive that they're used to in this position. So off the bat, they might not be able to get super maximal weight, and that's okay. That does happen to a few people. They really don't like rack or block pulls. Try it out, see how it feels to you. You might not get the leg drive that you're used to, and that's okay. The block or rack pull can also be used in special circumstances where an individual might not have the mobility for whatever reason to do deadlifts off the floor, or perhaps deadlifts off the floor cause a little bit of pain. Block pull is also a good option for that. The way we kind of want to set this up is just to have the pins or the blocks, whatever you have, set up so that the bar is at your mid shin level. We really don't want to go much higher than mid shin. This position will just kind of avoid any sort of ego lifting. So once you go above your knees, you're basically getting into what I call like a power shrug territory, where you're not really able to activate your glutes and hamstrings as much as you would from the mid shin position. So avoid the ego lifting, avoid the power shrug. Yes, there are applications for above knee rack pulls and block pulls, but they aren't really dedicated to your deadlift itself. So go with the mid shin. Everything else, this whole setup is the same. And the last variation we'll go over is just a simple deficit deadlift. Now with the deficit here, all we want to avoid is making a deficit that's super high off the ground. So you'll sometimes see people grab like the 45-pound bumper plates, and that puts you real high off the ground. You probably don't want to be more than about 2 inches off the ground, and not even then I'd say that's pretty high. So things you can kind of shoot for is the 1-inch steel plates. So steel plates usually have a decent height to them. They're nice and flat on top, so you don't have to worry about any sort of indentations with your feet slipping or anything like that. If you have it, some gyms will actually have the horse stall mats or the gym mats that are pretty thin, so you can stack those on top of each other and get an even smaller deficit. And I'd recommend that if you're trying the deficit for the first time. It can kind of feel a little bit goofy if you're trying the deficit for the first time and it's from a really high deficit. So basic benefits here is we're just putting ourselves at a little bit of a biomechanical disadvantage. Basically, the closer you are to the floor, the easier it is to pull something off of it. That's why people like their thin flat shoes or no shoes at all for deadlifting. So the deficit's just putting at us a little bit of a biomechanical disadvantage, and it's putting us through a longer range of motion. So that's why it's making it a bit harder. Just like the other two variations, the whole setup here is still the same. So you still want that bar starting over midfoot. You still want your shin position, hip tight position, all that to be the same. Only difference here is we're starting off a little bit of a plate or those mats. So that's it, guys. 3 quick, easy, simple variations of the deadlift you can try out. Try these out first before you think about adding a hamstring curl or a glute ham raise into your routine. I can guarantee you deadlift work is going to help your deadlift more than any other exercise is. So that's it, guys. I'm Coach Matt with the Lions Den. Thanks for checking out the video. Thanks for making it this far. And thanks to Joey for having me on the channel. Hope to see you guys in future videos.
Thank you so much, Coach Matt. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. You learned some accessory lifts or variations of the deadlift that you can put into your training, okay? If you guys didn't know, it's similar to where I stand on the deadlift, and that's because it works, okay? What he's talking about works, and he's a very intelligent coach, great at programming, but I wanted to kind of give him that little introduction to you guys. So go over, like his other videos, subscribe to his channel, watch his stuff, and just stay up to date, because we'll probably be mixing and mashing with each other on each other's channels, and you'll see him in the future with my stuff. But thanks so much, guys. As always, stay a lean, mean, strength machine, and I will catch up with you another time.